Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Worth Your Time, Worth Your Money, an ongoing segment that we do here on this channel where I have a look at the opening hours of new and upcoming games, where I basically just give you a short punchy video around about 10 minutes giving you the broad strokes info so you can go and make up your mind on your own. So today we're looking at The Farmer Was Replaced, which has actually been in early access for a couple of years. I wasn't aware of it, but the devs reached out and given me access to 1.0. So I've been pottering away with this and it's been quite excellent. I really like it. I have a real soft spot for, I don't know what you would call it, but like video games as an educational tool, edutainment, whatever. I've seen some really promising stuff and I'm very quick to cover it on my channel. And look, it might be the old man out of touch position, but I feel like we kind of missed a step during the infancy of video games and they could have been way more educational and just very helpful to, you know, the upcoming youth. But at the same time, don't want to look a gift horse in the proverbial. I'm glad that we're getting it in recent years. So this is, in a way, a coding game, but it's probably one of the better ones, and it seems highly transferable to a lot of modern languages. Now I've recorded footage of this and I'll be doing a playthrough on the channel and we'll do more episodes as requested. I go through my credentials there, but long and short of it, I've got some coding background just from being an engineer, but I've also entered the industry in recent years using sort of low-code middleware, which is its own thing as well. And through the course of it, I've picked up SQL and coding adjacent through all the video games I've played. So this seems to be heavily based off of Python, from what I understand, which is not something I've formally dipped into. However, I can kind of half write and muddle my way through it just from, you know, picking up all different other languages over the course of the years. But what this does is, through the very simple veneer of being like a little drone with a farmer hat, you can change the hat, you can write codes to make him do backflips and all sorts of cool little stuff. But through the course of being this little drone, you start with a one-by-one little plot of land with hay on it, and you can program him to behave in an idler-like way. And as you work your way through a tree, which, you know, you start earning hay currency from basic code, and the game is really good at not just holding your hand, but I take time to discuss it actually in the videos that I've recorded, which will be on the channel soon enough. But the idea of not just saying press this button, press this button, press that button, that sort of thing I think has a very low threshold for teaching, but more going, hey, you can do this with this command. Also, you happen to have this other command. And then it just stops. And then you sit there and you think and you abstract and realize, oh, wait, I can take what I learnt from scenario 1 that they laid out explicitly, and I can just apply that to the second scenario that they've handed to me to play with. So it leads a horse to water, but it lets you figure out that you have to drink it. I hope this makes sense. It makes a bit more sense in real-time recording if you do want to go down that rabbit hole. But as far as like stimulating and activating the old neurons and getting you to connect the dots and find the bridging gap is an excellent exercise, and that's a really core of what makes this stand out. So as you program away and you harvest your hay, you're going to buy little upgrades and iterations. You know, speed up is one of the earlier things. So you can speed up the rate at which your thing actually harvests the wheat, but the same as the tick rate of the overall system, right? So it starts reading the code faster. And early on, you run into the problem that you're actually trying to harvest quicker than the wheat can regrow. And as such, you just start cutting down wheat without yield. You know, it's like 50% grown, but your bot harvests it unsuccessfully. And so, you know, you have to start putting, you know, if statements, for loops, all sorts of, you know, while true, that sort of thing. So it actually throws a lot of stuff at you. I'm moving through it, I suppose, fast, but it is self-paced. But it is cool that it comes up with clever ways to kind of throw a spanner in the works and make you redo your code and come up with ways around it. And then, you know, you can start unlocking more squares. You start unlocking vertical squares. Now you have to move the drone in a sort of cardinal north-south direction, and then, you know, you get into a 3x3 space and you have to clear through there. Different currencies are being introduced, like planting bushes and Recently I'm up to sort of like carrots being planted, and you actually have to till the land, and if you were to re-till it, it would reverse it back to the previous grassland state, and carrots have a prerequisite cost of hay. So you need to start writing code. You can write multiple little different lines of code to get you through and say, oh, maybe I'm just going to harvest wheat for a while. But, the ultimate deal, and that's sort of what I was working towards just before I started recording this video, is coming up with something that can do like the trifecta. Some all-encompassing, multiple true checks with degrading for loops that will not only scan and transit across the two-dimensional space that I've got unlocked and check for harvesting, but also kind of auto balance and reharvest, replant as required as best you can with the tools that I've unlocked so far. It's actually magnificent. I would highly recommend this to anyone. I think you're going to find more and more that the ability to even just fundamentally understand code to some degree is much like fundamentally having English in your back pocket, right? I know just about all of us are native English speakers and readers, watching this video, but I really do think even just conceptualizing and grasping the fundamentals of logic loops and how they work. Like I said, I've never formally played with Python, but as I'm used in my video, like if you gave me a Python problem to debug and said, come back to me with a fix in a week, I'd probably do it for you in a couple of days, right? And that's just silly old stupid me. So yeah, I think this sort of game is a great example of like a level of education that the modern times kind of requires, even just so that you can appreciate problem solving in a virtual environment. But yeah, it's fun. It's tricky. It's already twisting my brain early on. It's been fascinating talking through it. I wouldn't consider myself a great educator. I've had to train and teach people over the years and all that, but I've never formally been a teacher. But it's been a whole experience going through this. Occasionally we've touched on coding program games in the past. One that comes to mind, it should still exist and float around, is called Rabbids Coding. I know everyone bashes Ubisoft, but that was an actual free to download, and I think it was direct from Ubisoft. The Rabbids universe themed rudimentary coding system that will teach you the basics of exactly what we're talking about here. This seems much more robust, if, a little lower budget, I suppose, but it's all functional and they've got the loop right. And I think it's very, very clever combining it with what can just basically be described as an idler platform or footprint. But the way that you're going to push your yields up is you do need to learn how to iterate and build upon code as the ground shifts underneath you, and different constraints, different currencies, all this stuff gets introduced and your old code becomes redundant. Anyway, if you have even a fleeting interest in this, it's probably worth picking up. If you are someone who is a little bit intimidated or scared of code, and I'm not trying to name call, it's not like that, but the reality is you weren't born, hundreds of years ago in a different time where the skill set required of the age was, well, probably significantly less coding based. I do feel like this is a supplementary tool that's very, very useful to have, or at least give a go until you get stuck or what have you. It's only $15. I'm assuming it's going to stay in the same price when it hits full release. Like, I'm looking at the 1.0 build under embargo. You can pick it up in early access now anyway and grab it early. Actually, by the time this video goes up, it's probably in full release because of the embargo. Anyway, high praise. I would have killed for something like this when I was a kid. We had some very rudimentary educational games and they always felt more like a cop-out. There was a window in there where I was hungry for something like this, and I wish it had existed. I really do. I'm glad it does now. I really, truly think that put this in front of your kids, whether they're interested in code or not, just during that formative time. You never know, you might create yourself a little 8-year-old programming monster, because it's a very, very good tool. And to reiterate and put a bow on it, the way that it leads you, the proverbial horse, to water, and then allows you to recognize that you need to get yourself over the line to actually drink said water, and come up with a solution that it doesn't handhold the last part of. Whatever you want to call that educational style, I think it's excellent, and it's really great at stimulating creativity and innovation in small bite-sized steps to reinforce whatever it is you just learned. Anyway, I'm quite impressed. No need to waffle. Keep an eye out on the channel. We'll be rolling out the start of a playthrough, and if it's well received, we'll do some more time with it. Otherwise, we might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.